Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Hybrid Healing Hour. Today we are going to be talking beyond blood work, what your urine says about your hormones with a hormone expert, Dr. Sarah Doyle. Hi Sarah.
Hi.
Thank you for coming on to our show. I'm really looking forward to talking about this topic today.
Yeah, me too. I don't have all this knowledge in my brain to keep it to myself. So I try to tell as many people as I can.
I love it. First, let's tell our audience a little bit about yourself and how you got to where you are today.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So full disclosure, I'm a doctor of physical therapy and I used to work in ICU, in trauma ICU and COVID ICU. And that made me want to not do allopathic medicine. So during the pandemic, I binged on functional medicine certification and I started a coaching program. And then I had an opportunity to open a clinic in Miami Beach. So I had a physical therapy clinic. And what I noticed is I got a lot of women who came in and they had previously seen an orthopedic. They got MRIs, chronic pain, can't work out, trouble with ADLs, and their MRI is fine. And the doctor's like, go to PT. So what I started doing is testing their hormones. And so that's how I got into that. And then I do a lot of hormone testing in my online coaching program, which is drsarahdoyle.com. While I have my clinic, one day I got a WhatsApp from Shakira's managers. So I ended up seeing Shakira at home. I live in Miami Beach. And then I went on tour with Shakira. And then I sold my clinic. And then I ended up going on tour with The Weeknd. So This whole last year, I've been going on tour. I've been on 43 airplanes.
Wow.
And it's just November now. So during that time, I've juggled the coaching program where I'm still testing I do brain chemistry metabolites along with the steroid hormones, because when hormones fluctuate, brain chemistry fluctuates. So it gets a good comprehensive look, and then also the thyroid if needed. And then I've also been a clinical educator for Physicians Lab. So I've used this lab for hundreds of my patients. And so when they had an opportunity, I came on as a clinical educator. So what that means is that I teach all the new doctors who onboard, and I teach them how to read the test. And you give them, whether they're using botanicals or HRT, you give them suggestions of what to do and how to modify what's going on with their patients.
And that's how we met you, is because we also do that testing in our office.
Yeah. It's a great test.
Yeah.
It really is. So hormones are going to blow up because now the FDA has just removed the black box warning on hormones.
I guess blow up again, right?
Blow up even bigger than they've been.
Well, yeah, it's important. Only 10% of American women have access to HRT. That means 90% of women are going to doctors, being shamed, and going home with nothing and just suffering.
Or offered an antidepressant.
Even the 10%, I think they think that they're getting access to hormones. But what we see is a lot of people come to us because the first thing that women do is go to their gynecologist and discuss hormones. And then they come to us with their labs that their gynecologist did, and they're so basic. They like barely scratch the surface.
Yeah.
So first, why don't we talk about how the dried urine test differs from traditional hormone testing?
So the Dutch, many people are familiar with that. That's from a company called Precision Analytics, and they're a direct competitor of ours at Physicians Lab. Basically, that catches metabolites. So anything that's happened in your body, whether I mentioned I do brain chemistry, and you can see the metabolites in your urine, right? That's what our urine does. It gets rid of waste products. So we can actually measure those waste products and get a better idea of what's going on in the body. It gives us insight into enzymes, like which enzymes are more active. We can see some precursors, like the precursors to testosterone are really important when looking at androgenetic, especially if women are having hirsutism or like a lot of facial hair from stress. We can get a lot of insight there.
So they don't just get hair growth on their face when they're on hormones. They can get it also when they're depleted of hormones.
Yeah, from stress. So you can have low testosterone and still have these androgenetic symptoms, and it'll actually be the precursor.
Wow.
Yeah, so you can pinpoint what's going on in the body. You can see the processes. If you're not familiar with biochemistry or not even comfortable, you can still, as a practitioner, administer the test, because a physician's lab has this pathways book. So, listen, if your doctor doesn't look things up, get a different doctor, because there's no way the human brain can memorize everything
Right.
all the time. I go back and reference that all the time. I mean, there's general patterns that I can see, with different elevated metabolites, but I'm like, did I forget something? I always go back and check. So Physicians Lab provides you with a pathways book that shows you why something happens, and there's charts that will tell you why a particular enzyme or a biomarker is elevated or decreased.
And I'll tell you, in our practice, we do a ton of different lab tests, covering everything from preventive cardiology to cancer prevention. But this is probably the most complicated of all the labs that I look at, to me, because it's so, I'm not familiar.
Well, and like you said, there's so many different pathways, right? So a lot of people don't realize how estrogen breaks down and testosterone breaks down, and that's what we're talking about is the metabolites, right? And like you're talking about the precursors even, right?
Yes.
And that could be like pregnenolone.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So the difference between the Dutch test and Physicians Lab is, well, the presentation. It's a lot. I remember the first time I got a Dutch test back on a client, and I was like, oh my God, I had to call Precision Analytics and get coaching as a practitioner. And I've never explained it to a patient and a patient walk away understanding what the heck that test is. The presentation, I'm sorry to be critical, but I love Physicians Lab because everything is red, yellow, green, just like a traffic light.
Exactly.
And you can figure out like, okay, there's a lot of red here. That's where,
Well, it's even easier for the patient to kind of remember a little bit on their own too, when we review it as well.
Exactly. They can walk away and say, oh, okay, I can see the estrogen's high and stuff like that. It's a lot. And there's little gas gauges, which again, it's very,
like those.
very intuitive. The other benefit of the Physicians Lab is that it's not dried urine. So with the Dutch one, you have to be at home because you're peeing on paper and letting it dry for 24 hours. Like, God forbid your kids walk in the bathroom, they're like, Mom, what are you doing? Like,
Oh my gosh. So I've never collected the Dutch, but
Oh,
okay.
no, it's super inconvenient.
Oh, wow.
The benefit of the Physicians Lab is it comes in little test tubes. You get pipettes. It's super. I mean, I took the test owning a clinic, having a day full of patients, and then going to a grand opening. I had some other doctor friends of mine that opened up a brand new thing. I had to do this thing. In the middle of the ribbon cutting ceremony, I'm like, oh, my alarm went off. I go.
I have to go do my urine sample.
Yeah, I mean, it's stable. You can refrigerate it for like a week, but it's stable at room temperature for like, whatever, a day.
How many
Right.
samples do they need to collect?
I prefer to start my patients with the 5 samples. That way I can capture, because listen, we don't secrete hormones at an equal level throughout the day. But the number one thing is to capture the cortisol pattern. So whenever I'm looking at patients, I always want to look at blood sugar regulation, number 1. Number 2, I look at their cortisol. And then number 3, then we can start looking at their hormones. Like people know their hormones are off, and they come to you and they're like, oh, let's just get my estrogen, let's get my testosterone, let's do that. But they haven't, you have to backtrack. You can't just fix these without fixing these first. So the 5 urine sample gives us cortisol, and it gives us cortisone, which gives us an idea of how the body's metabolizing, how the body's handling their stress.
Do you want to explain the difference between cortisol and cortisone?
Sure.
Because a lot of patients use
While
them
we're on it,
interchangeably.
let's talk about it.
Yeah, well, okay, so cortisone, it's different than like the hydrocortisone cream you get on a bug bite. It's different from that. It's cortisone and cortisol. They're interchangeable via 2 different enzymes, and I can look them up, but I don't even think I can pronounce them, so. This is where the Pathways book comes in handy. But your body will look at whether you have a lot of cortisol, and it wants to protect you. Your body is intuitive. And so it'll convert it into cortisone, which is like inactive. So cortisol, think of like when you get up in the morning and you exercise and you feel energized. Okay, that's a cortisol burst. Or think of like when you're driving, you have to slam on your brakes. You get catecholamines, but you also get cortisol. Or thinking of like when you're hypoglycemic, you're skipping meals, your cortisol will kick up and get your body to, that's a whole nother thing, but you'll get your body to convert glycogen into glucose so that you
Have the energy.
so you can function. So cortisol is an active stress response. Cortisone is inactive.
Okay.
It's kind of like there's DHEA and DHEA sulfate, right? So DHEA sulfate is in the test, and it's like a storage, right? So DHEA is what your body uses to calm you, right? That's why people who are, they're really stressed out, they have like that wired but tired feeling and they can't fall asleep, but then they're tired in the morning. That's usually like a high cortisol, but then your body tries to help calm you with DHEA. So you'll see the DHEA and DHEA sulfate fluctuate, and then the cortisol and cortisone fluctuate. That's your body's trying to protect you. Because if you have really high cortisol, that causes an inflammatory response. But when you have a really low cortisol, you end up with some immune suppression. Like you can't, your B cells start to activate. So that's why really burnt out people start to present with autoimmune diseases like lupus and Hashimoto's. So,
and that's also what some people call adrenal fatigue, correct?
Yep, exactly. They say adrenal fatigue.
Yeah, and so like, I'm not gonna lie, that happened to me. Your cortisol is supposed to spike in the morning. Yeah. And that's why, you wake up and you have higher cortisol and then it should come down slowly throughout the day.
Exactly.
And mine never even went up at one point. But I found that out by doing physician's lab testing. And I have corrected it. And so it's great. Now I feel like night and day,
So when you are flatlined, that's what we call flatliners.
Definitely was a flatliner.
You want to take naps, coffee's not working, your hair's starting to fall out. All those things. You're getting fat on your stomach. You're like, I'm barely eating. Why am I having fat? Well, that's the response.
So for women who are still menstruating, when is the ideal time of their cycle to do this test?
Great question and very important. I have to set reminders to call my patients to remind them. I'm very hands-on with them. So I tell a woman, so the test instructions are going to say from day 19 to 22. So you want to capture it a couple days after ovulation. So that's based on a 28-day cycle. I coach each patient. Most people use apps to track their period.
Or the Oura Ring nowadays.
Yeah. So you can look at them and say, okay, well, you can see when you're ovulating and just take a couple days after. That's to capture the estrogen. We want to give the follicle the chance to produce progesterone so we can capture some of those metabolites.
And for women who are not menstruating?
You can do it and you can get the test and do it the next day.
Okay. But I also want to say, this is not just for women. We can do it on men.
I use it on men. I primarily coach women, but I had men jump on the train, especially I did a podcast talking about using TRT, like young guys.
Yeah.
Because they go to the gym and their buddy's using it and they're ordering it online for $49.99 for research. I'm like, no. And then they want to have a kid and they've been injecting that for years. I was like, you can't do that as a 35-year-old. Just eat more protein.
Exactly.
So I did a podcast on that, and I got a ton of guys in my coaching group, a lot of men, and so definitely it's valuable to anybody on hormones, anybody who's gone to their doctor, they don't feel good, and their doctor says they're fine. That's the thing with serum. So when you do blood work, by the time something shows up on your blood work that things aren't well, it's more like a freight train. So we use these functional medicine tests such as Physician's Lab and others so that we can capture them and when they start to get out of the suboptimal range. And it's a lot easier to change. It's like changing diabetes when it's pre-diabetes instead of full-blown.
Exactly.
HbA1c of like 8.
We talk about this a lot on our podcast. There's a huge difference between a reference range and an optimal range.
Yes.
And you really need to know the optimal range.
When the reference ranges have changed and they're different in different states. Yeah, like, Louisiana, where obesity is prevalent, it's a bigger range than places like California and Florida. It's we're really dropping our standards.
And that's a shame,
Yeah.
Back to the cortisol, one other question I have regarding that is, can you explain, I think you kind of did already, but why it's more important to check like the cortisol, like you said, over the 24-hour period versus AM cortisol only like we do in our office. Like a lot of people want that one just run through their morning labs that we do. And I always say, okay, well, really, that's a snapshot, and I'm not a fan of that because almost everybody has a normal serum cortisol.
Yeah,
and they could be stressed out of their mind.
Yeah, there's compounding variables because when you get a blood draw, it's cold. You're stressed out because maybe you're late to the appointment. There's traffic. You're stressed out because of the prick, and who likes needles? Like nobody loves that happening. So I think that's a confounding variable. And I think the benefit of having the 5 readings is that you can see the pattern. Like you said, we have this thing called a cortisol awakening response 30 minutes after we wake up. And that's when your cortisol should be like almost 20 times higher than it is when you go to bed, and then your melatonin kicks in. So yes, you want to have that peak in the morning. That's what you shouldn't really have to rely on coffee. You should have your adrenals to do it for you. Things that help that are like sunlight, morning exercise, all those great circadian rhythm things that are finally coming out. But yes, you want to have a nice steady decline throughout the day. Oftentimes I'll see people with a spike at night. If they're doing like a CrossFit or something after dinner or before dinner, like say they're going from work to CrossFit and then dinner, like they're maybe a little hypoglycemic. So we want to look at that and decode their lifestyle to drive the intervention.
And then that, like you said, there's definitely that cross-reference with the glycemic like index, or not necessarily index, but their sugar levels.
Yeah, hypoglycemia will increase your cortisol. That's how people get
It's your
fat.
response.
So yeah, I try to explain that in my coaching program, is that you get this stress response. And it's the same thing if you're in traffic and you get a cortisol stress response and you're not running, or if you're hypoglycemic, you're getting like the cortisol is going to get the pancreas to talk to the liver to convert your glycogen into glucose. And then if you're using it or not using it, if you're in traffic and you're just angry, it gets deposited as fat. It doesn't go back into a reserve. So yeah, there's lots of mechanisms that can spike the cortisol in ways that we don't want to.
Yeah.
And from my knowledge, is oxytocin also affected by cortisol? And do you guys check oxytocin levels? I can't remember.
It's not in that test. No,
Okay.
it's not. And I can't answer the direct relationship or indirect relationship on that one.
I was under the impression that cortisol can.
Yeah, it'll decrease when
yeah.
you have. It'll decrease when you have higher oxytocin. Yeah, for sure.
So since you've done more of these tests than anybody I know, rough guess, what percentage of your patients do you think have normal cortisol cycles right off the bat without any intervention?
Maybe 50%,
Okay.
honestly, but it depends. I mean, it depends on who you're getting. Like people that I get are more like biohackers. My clinic was inside of a canyon ranch where
nice.
people literally go to retire to do. They do like 4 fitness classes in the morning. Like they live in a 5-star resort. Like they're retired.
Yeah.
They're trophy wives. Things are well.
Right.
But one misnomer I get is that entrepreneurs think that, their cortisol must be so much worse than the average person because they just do so much more because they're entrepreneurs. Like, I hate to burst your bubble, but people in general will work, like the 50% of people that do have poor cortisol readings, people in general work to the most of their capability, whether they are a security guard or a bank teller. Like people push themselves and that's why we have different roles in society. So, I mean, that's like one of the funniest things that I see is like, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm probably guilty too, but like the arrogance, like, oh God, ours must be so much worse than average people because we just do so much more. And like, not really. Society's hard.
It's just how everybody can handle different things.
Exactly.
Yeah. And everyone else's stress response, right?
Exactly.
Let's talk about estrogen.
Yeah, lots to talk about
Yeah.
there.
So I want to talk about how this, it measures the estrogen metabolites, but can you explain why the metabolites matter?
Sure. So we have 3 different estrogens, right? E1, E2, E3. And then the E1 metabolizes into, we look at 2-hydroxyestrone, which is favorable. That's an anti-inflammatory pathway. Then we have 16-hydroxyestrone and we have 4-hydroxyestrone. So those are the ones that if we see them elevated, they may be giving high estrogen symptoms even if their estrogen's in a normal range. So it's important to look at that. And then especially if somebody is taking testosterone or estrogen therapy, because testosterone turns into estrogen, we want to make sure that they don't have a bunch of toxic metabolites because, they can be possibly carcinogenic, not always. But they're definitely inflammatory. Sometimes they can give us like a reading of like maybe there's some underlying hypothyroidism, obesity. Sometimes they occur because of all the plastics, the PFAS, the BPAs, the pesticides. So I know because I was on tour for I ate every meal out for 5 months straight. And I was taking high doses of like DIM because I genetically have an issue with
A methylation issue?
Yeah, I have
MTHFR?
I have lots of methylation issues. So
I want to talk about that too.
Yeah, we'll segue into that. But back to the estrogen. So you do want to look and see how your patient is presenting and make sure, and you can reverse that. I do it all the time. They reflect phase 1 metabolism, and then the methylation with the catechol methyltransferase gene, COMT, that reflects phase 2 liver metabolism. So there are supplements you can take to help in both phases to bring it down, in addition to lifestyle stuff like, hey, stop drinking out of plastic bottles.
Right.
That's a biggie, get the mountain that, the green bottle, or the Saratoga that's
in glass.
The viral ones. Yeah. Like, it actually does make a difference. I mean, I personally had off the charts estrogens, like double the normal limit, and just removing plastic water bottles.
And was it regular estrogens or was it the estrone?
No, it was regular estrogens.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because we do check the estrone, and I do caution my patients with that, with the increased risk of breast cancer or ovarian cancer.
Sure.
With that level.
They're 100%.
And it's crazy how typically the patients who are symptomatic, like I see that. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I can get it down with DIM. I like the DIM and IC3, the endocarbonol, if I say that right.
Yep.
Okay. But I didn't know if you had any other suggestions on helping.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So indole-3 carbonol is a metabolite of things like broccoli, like all the smelly vegetables.
The cruciferous ones.
Yeah, but you would have to eat I think it's 5 pounds of broccoli to get what's in one pill. So that helps you with phase 1 metabolism, and so does sulforaphane. Sulforaphane is also, from cabbage and all these smelly vegetables.
Yep.
But if you have a genetic problem, which I'll touch upon, I'll just segue, like people can get tested and not have the BRCA gene, the BRCA gene, but still have cancer run in their family. And that's because their body can't break down these estrogens. So I think this test is really important. Is one of the things I ask my patients, like, do you have any ovarian, endometrial, fibroids, like anything, endometriosis, like any of these high estrogen diseases in your family? And that then you want to look at those metabolites and say, like, okay, gosh, do they also have some of the carcinogenic ones that indicate free radical damage? That's important, because we want to prevent cancer, especially now the rates are crazy.
Going up, yes.
Yeah, so you can look at that, and then when you get to the methylation, you can add in calcium diglucarate. That's really helpful. It's also critical to look at their diet and make sure they're getting enough fiber to support the strobilome bacteria. So that would be in phase 3 metabolism that occurs in the GI.
Yeah.
So you brought up another question. If someone is already on hormone replacement, is this test still helpful?
Oh, absolutely, because it'll help direct it'll help direct the dosage. Like, you can see progesterone for sure directly. For testosterone and estrogen, that's more of like an indirect interpretation. I like using neurometabolites. If you do saliva testing, so if you're taking, let me back up. So if you're taking like a testosterone cream or estrogen cream, they're very fat soluble. So they go right into your tissue, and then your body metabolizes them differently. So you're for months, even after you quit taking them, your saliva is going to be really high, and it's not going to reflect what's in your serum. So I don't think saliva testing is great I would not recommend it for people with HRT. Now, the reason I like Physicians Lab is because you can look at, we look at the testosterone metabolites, and we can see if somebody's a fast metabolizer and that, or a slow metabolizer. So that will direct your dosage, in that if you know they're a real fast metabolizer, they may need a bigger dose. If they're a slow metabolizer, you might want to start at half, because we don't want lady beards.
Nope. Nobody wants that.
Your clients won't be happy.
And I mean, and there's other, like, breast sensitivity or tenderness, right?
Yeah.
We can get to.
Yeah.
But, and we don't want to lose hair on the top of the head.
No, we don't want the DHT conversion either. So that's another thing that we see in the Physicians Lab test. So you can look at the 5-alpha reductase enzyme activity versus 5-beta. Yeah. And it's important to be balanced. If the 5-alpha is really high, like you said, we don't want conversion of testosterone to DHT, because your patients are going to lose hair. And so we want to give them some like nettles or saw palmetto to help slow that down. I use botanicals. I'm not licensed to prescribe HRT. So there's that. And then you also want to look at the 5-beta reductase enzyme activity, because that is important for the formation of bile. So let me start at the beginning. This is how your hormones are made. You eat fat. You eat good fat. You have a grass-fed steak. You have avocados. nuts, good fats. So your body takes that. Your body makes cholesterol. It's a misnomer to think like, oh God, I'm eating eggs, I'm gonna have too high cholesterol. No, your body makes cholesterol because it needs it. Yep. It needs it to make vitamin D, and then it makes a precursor called pregnenolone. Pregnenolone has a choice to either become your sex hormones or become cortisol. So if you're living a healthy, balanced life or living in harmony with your body will make sex hormones. If you are going through a divorce, your mother's in a nursing home, you're lost your job, you're about to lose your home, these things that are keeping you up at night are driving all that precursor towards making cortisol, and your body literally just cannot make sex hormones. So when your partner is like, oh, you don't want to have sex, like you literally can't because you can't. There's no sex hormones there to make it happen. And it's not just about sex drive, but you start getting osteoporosis, you start getting all these other things that come along with low estrogen.
I love how you just described that. That was perfect. Yeah. To the T.
Yeah, I've done that like probably 1,000 times. Yeah.
So let's talk about like anabolic and catabolic. Can you explain what does that mean when we're talking about hormones?
Oh, I love that. It's at the end of the test. It's a little gas gauge, and it says anabolic versus catabolic. So one's hydroxysteroids and the other one's ketosteroids. And so they're metabolites. And so that is a really great indicator of how your body is able to rest and digest and perform and grow. So I say anabolic, think of like Arnold Schwarzenegger, right? Your body can rebuild, but too much anabolic is also a bad thing. So you want to have it in balance. And then when it comes to catabolic, this is more of a problem and more frequent. So there's a couple different things that come at play. You can have a postpartum mom who's breastfeeding, who's a trophy wife and feels a lot of pressure to get her body back, who's going to Barry's boot camp, who's maybe not eating enough because she's breastfeeding, and her body will be in a catabolic state. That literally means your body's breaking down to survive. You can also be geriatric and have more of the anabolic resistance. So typically older people don't eat enough protein, right? Yeah. It's expensive, it's whatever it may be. If you don't have enough amino acids in your diet, you're going to be in a catabolic state. And the RDA for protein consumption is way below what it needs to be. I tell all my clients 1 gram for every pound of body weight that you want to be.
Yep.
Because if you drop below, you don't have enough amino acids. And to vegans, sorry, you've got to take leucine. You're not getting, I know plant-based diet's great. It just does a lot of things to reverse disease. There's a lot of great evidence about that. But you're losing muscle mass, and muscle is the number one anti-aging thing you could possibly have. There's no drug that will replace muscle mass. What the muscles will secrete for your body is so anti-inflammatory.
I say muscle mass is the number one health currency. Like,
yes,
it's just we're huge. You are preaching to the choir. We've
said this on so many podcasts, and it's great to hear.
And we love it because we have a supplement with leucine in our office to help people build muscle, especially those on GLPs and GLP-1s. When they're losing their muscle mass, we're really big. We carry amino acids, we carry creatine, and the loose energy.
Creatine.
By the way, I think everybody who's on a GLP-1 should have this test done.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
I didn't know if what I was going to ask next is actually if you've seen any more catabolic I'll
tell you what, I don't really work with a lot of people on Ozempic. I am strictly botanicals.
Sure.
And I do all plant medicine. And so those are I get the people who are like, no, I'm not touching any drugs. God gave me everything that I need. Everything we need is in nature. Those are my clients.
Which is great. Yeah. That's great too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I don't personally see it.
We'll have to do our own study throughout our clinic. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
But there are people who see multiple providers, right? They may be getting it from someone else and coming to you for this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. That's the one thing with GLP-1s, they're here to stay. And I think they're really great because they help the inflammation, they help the brain. That's one of the things,
kidneys,
everything. I mean,
a lot of benefits.
A lot of great things, yeah. But we do have to watch that loss of muscle because that kind of defeats the purpose.
Yeah. So with the anabolic, like if you have an athlete that like kind of use Arnold Schwarzenegger, so like if they're overtraining, will it show catabolic reaction though? Like because they might say, "Are you kidding me? I'm working out and I'm doing everything right. Why is this happening?" Right? And like you said, it could be related to their diet,
not recovery.
Yeah. Or not enough downtime. Exactly.
Yeah. A lot of people don't get, like I learned when I was in my physical therapy program about when we train athletes, there's a periodization of the schedule. So, like football players, look, they're like, they're chilling after the Super Bowl.
Oh my God, what they eat? The feast. They're definitely getting enough calories.
Yeah.
But I was talking to a bodybuilder recently, and she said, we are not the healthiest people. She said, this is an extreme sport, and what we're doing to our bodies is completely unnatural, and we know it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's crazy.
Addictions come in all forms.
Yep, pretty much. So now let's go back to talking about that methylation and the detox pathways, because a lot of people don't realize there's like we talk about methylation in our practice, but I think people don't realize that also has to do if you're detoxing or able to detox as well.
Yeah, okay. So I try to tell people methylation is just a fancy word for metabolism. Think of just try to replace that word with metabolism in your mind so you don't get confused. And it's how your body breaks things down. And there's several methylation genes. We don't have perfect genes, So, and some of them are evolutionary. Like a fun fact, like MTHFR, most people who have that methylation, they're usually entrepreneurs, leaders, innovators. They're the people who have ADHD, didn't do well in school, but they invent something amazing and they change the world. So it's an evolutionary thing, right? Those are the leaders of the tribes from back in the day.
Interesting.
Sickle cell anemia, right, is another evolutionary trait, right?
We talked about ApoE. ApoE had evolutionary benefits in the beginning.
Really?
Right. It did.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And so now that's why it was sub-Saharan Africa that had the highest preponderance of ApoE genes, and now it's like spread everywhere. But now it's linked to Alzheimer's. But once upon a time, it wasn't. It was linked to some benefits.
Interesting. I wonder if that can be offset with hormone supplementation.
We're trying.
Yeah.
We're
Definitely
really
diet.
big on
We know that for a fact.
diet,
and
exercise,
estrogen.
and then we definitely, that's why we
I
do
think
a
it's
lot of the hormone replacement therapy
Great
for
study
that.
for someone to do.
Yep.
I love studies.
Yep.
I write them all the time, like at least one or two a year, a little case study. Yeah.
So back to methylation.
Yeah, it's methylation, sorry.
It's okay.
Land
I
the
love
plane.
it.
So methylation is the way your body breaks things down. So if you're not breaking things down, what we can do, so your gene is only working, so each gene, let me back up. Each gene is coded to make an enzyme. So if the gene has we call it a single nucleotide polymorphism, a SNP, SNP. And so if it has that, maybe if it's heterozygous or homozygous, maybe it's only producing 30% of the enzyme or 70% of the enzyme. What we can do is supplement with the cofactors. It's like a recipe, right? The more you put in, the more you get out. So you can supplement with cofactors at a higher dose to try to get that normal 100% level. And it's like, that's real biohacking, okay? Forget about the red light therapy and the cold plunge. Those are great. Yeah. But you can really change I guess that would be your epigenetic presentation.
It is, yep. Exactly.
With supplementation of certain things.
So are you genetically testing patients as well on top of the urine test?
Not usually. I'd rather them spend money on the intervention. Between doing I use Doctor's Data brain chemistry test, between doing that and then doing I can capture the MTHFR, the function.
Yeah.
So I treat the function.
By checking homocysteine levels too?
That's not in the test, but you can go, when you've been doing it for long enough, you can get a cluster of symptoms. Like if I have someone with the poor methylation and they also have really bad anxiety, I can pump them up with some SAMe and reduce their anxiety by 80%.
Yeah.
So it's just, that's an experience thing.
Yeah. We used to check these when insurance was covering them. We used to take COMT and MTHFR, and we've backed down now. But I mean, we've seen that the COMT patients respond so well to SAMe.
Yeah. And
or even just a high dose of L-methylfolate for the anxiety and depression.
Yep. Or all of them.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah. So. I've pulled people off antidepressants and given them things like that. Yeah.
But Physicians Lab also does a metabolic performance, right?
Yeah.
Panel.
So it's an excellent complement.
Yeah.
In it, there's 60 different analytes. It's divided into 7 different categories, right? The number one we start with is your GI health. Then we have essential amino acids, non-essential amino acids, inflammatory markers. We check methylation. We look at cellular performance. So you look at your mitochondria, which correlates with the cortisol graph of the hormone. And then the last pillar is muscle, because that's like your trophy.
Right. And so I found that really a neat panel. I actually liked that because, funny enough for me, example, it showed I had extremely high taurine levels. And I was like, what the heck? Where am I getting this taurine from?
Celsius.
And we did it all from the same time. First thing I looked at, Celsius. It was like one of the highest, the third ingredient or something like that on their label. And so I was drinking probably 1 Celsius a day, but so was he, because we drink together.
With different metabolites.
But that goes to show, that's what I love telling my patients, is I give that example to show every single person is different, right?
That's why a husband and wife, they'll be like, why is he doing this and I'm doing that?
People don't realize, and we often have husband and wives that do the same diet, right?
Yeah.
Like they'll both do keto, but the wife is gaining weight with keto and the husband's dropping weight, right? So it's just, every single person is different. And that's why I love running these panels on you.
They're great. With when it comes to like retesting too, the metabolic, you can retest them every 30 days, or with men, you can retest both the hormone and the metabolic within 30 days. That's because men have a 24-hour hormone cycle. So men, your hormones, you lucky bastards.
Yeah.
Your hormones reset every 24 hours. We have a 28-day cycle. And even when we enter menopause, it still takes a couple months. Like, let's say a menstruating woman, I would give her 90 days before she retests, but a non-menstruating woman, give her like 60 days.
Wow. Does that correlate with do women taking longer to like recover, repair from like workouts or injuries?
We handle stress differently than men. So women, especially when they get into menopause, tend to exercise a little too hard. Or if they have a hard workout and they're like, why am I bloated the next day? And that's just the inflammation response to help her recover. And a lot of women work out too hard.
I love that you're touching on this, because I also learned, I think, by doing this testing on many women, actually over the age of 40, I've noticed that I feel we need to slow it down a little. We need to it's okay to do more yoga or Pilates, and it's okay to do a 15-minute weight exercise or HIIT.
If you're going to do
twice
HIIT,
a week.
I say HIIT, keep it under 20 minutes.
Yeah. The worst thing I think anybody could do is spin class, because your body feels like it's being chased by a cheetah for a freaking hour.
That's a really good point.
Right?
But this also ties into methylation too. If they have a COMT deficit, that means they have a harder time. So the COMT gene will help break down estrogens, but also catecholamines, like your norepinephrine, epinephrine, your fight or flight, your known as adrenaline and noradrenaline. So women who have that SNP and they're doing the HIIT classes, they may have a poor response to it too. It's pretty interesting.
Now I always get a little confused with the COMT, because is it Val-Mal, right? Or like, I forget how the testing is, like, because for the gene, right? You're either fully or hetero or homozygous, right?
Yeah.
So I think I'm a heterozygous, but then I have other people who are homozygous, but they're definitely more affected and they know their body a little more, I'd say.
Yeah, they're definitely more aware because they probably have more anxious responses, and
they're very affected by medications in general, I'd say too.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, pharmacogenetics needs to be explored a little bit more.
Yeah, we do that too.
Awesome.
Because we're the all-encompassing. Like, we have to,
We try to be, but there's way too much. There's just so much out there we can't keep up.
Yeah, it's hard. And I love geeking out on this with you.
Yeah, it's good for if I had a patient that was just not responding to blood pressure meds, then I'm going to pull the genes and see what's going on.
That's a great example.
Yep.
Yeah. Exactly. So, I love what you're doing for your patients. I love having you on. I think this was a wealth of knowledge, and
Thank you.
I feel like we could continue going for a whole nother hour.
I'm one of those people you can do a 3-hour podcast with. Like, we could do a Joe Rogan, no problem.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, maybe we'll have to have you back someday.
Yes, I would love to talk more about the brain.
I would love that.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm super passionate about that. I'm launching a product. Hopefully Q1, I'm working on some investor funding that is a natural alternative to Adderall. So it helps elevate.
You want to hear more?
Yeah, we have that one. And I just launched a product that is I want to say it's as strong as BHRT, but I've been doing case studies. And so some women, they don't respond well to progesterone. Mm-hmm. They get cranky, they get bloated.
So this just came up. I just had a patient
just talking about this,
who cannot take progesterone. She can't handle it at all. And Her doctor told us the lowest dose it comes is 75 milligrams. I said, well, that's not true because
you can have anything compounded.
Yeah.
And I actually had a patient who her progesterone, I compounded literally a 0.5 milligram, and her progesterone level came back at like 19. I'm doing this test on her. She's just waiting. She hasn't done it yet. But yeah.
So I want to hear, what do you do with these people who can't take progesterone?
Yeah, so that's why I created my supplement. It's a company called VitaFem, VITA-FEM.com. And I use pregnenolone in combination with chaste berry.
Ooh.
It works like a charm. There's evidence in the literature that says DHEA will raise progesterone, but it does not do that in women. It maybe the in vitro, but not in vivo, not in my experience. I've been using pregnenolone plus chaste berry, and the research says chaste berry is for boosting estrogen. But I'm telling you, I've done this on hundreds of women. I created my product on it. And I also use a bunch of different botanicals to boost estrogen.
Well, we will have to get connected with you to have this post on our website too as a link.
Yeah, I would love to help the people because we don't understand. I was just listening to maybe 6 months ago a podcast with Peter Attia and this other board certified urologist. I forgot her name. But they were talking about how we don't understand why progesterone, some women get crazy and bloated. Like we don't understand why. So I created a solution for that.
I love it.
Yes.
Yeah. Wonderful. And so, okay, real quick though, if that person is on estrogen and they have a uterus, is this good enough to keep them from bleeding or having endometrial thickness? Do we know that?
Is what my product?
Yeah.
Oh, I haven't tested on that. I've been testing. It just launched on Amazon yesterday and TikTok the day before.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
So we got to do some studies and see.
Yeah, I've got one person. I have one female, and I got her test results back, and they look exactly like someone on BHRT.
Okay, so if it's good enough to keep progesterone levels up, then
keep progesterone, estrogen, and testosterone.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I designed it to be like an all-in-one. Is it going to help everybody? No. Is it going to help 90% of people? That's what I'm going for because women have been left behind in research.
Absolutely.
Everything from board exams, everything. It's like a lot of it's on research on men, and we are not men. We recover more slowly. We get more autoimmune diseases. Like we're not the same. And that goes back to blood sugar regulation and cortisol regulation. The way we handle cortisol is just different.
Wow.
So.
Yeah.
Can you please tell our audience how they can find you?
Oh, my pleasure. I'm all over the place. So you can book a consult with me if you have questions, you want to join a coaching program. It's at drsarahdoyle.com, DRSARAHDOYLE.com. I do a biohacking boot camp. I have a lot of health coaches in my groups. I teach every Tuesday. And then I also have my product on vitafem.com. It's VITA-FEM.com. I'm on Instagram. My handles are Dr. Sarah Doyle, and that's my TikTok also. And yeah, I think my YouTube. Oh, I wrote a book called 7X Method. I'm on there too.
What is it called?
7X, the letter X, Method.
Method. Okay.
Yeah, it's on circadian science. It's going to take 30 seconds. But so in 2020, I traveled to Mexico, and I went to go get dentistry there. I went to stay with my friend. I had a car accident. I had some fractures, some trauma. It's a lot cheaper. And they have really great technology, by the way, if you can't afford it in the U.S.
I've heard that.
Yeah. Wow. Amazing. And so I meet this guy in town, and he's like a liaison for this quantic medicine program. It's like they use quantic nutrition. So there's no such thing as fat grams, no such thing as calories. There's 7 different food groups, and it's based on frequency. And it's based on color. And they found that our organs and systems have circadian rhythms that follow our main sleep-wake cycle. And there's 7 groups. And so it's like basically 7 different times a day you eat something from that group. You don't have to eat 7 times a day, but like you look at what time it is, you're like, oh, okay, I should eat like, what is it? Lunchtime, I should have something from the green group because that's the salad, that's the fresh veggies, that gives us kinetic energy. And that's when the green frequency and the sun is dominant in the sky.
I love it.
Spectrophotometry.
I love all that, like quantum.
It's all based
stuff.
on it's based on spectrophotometry.
Wow.
So it's all alignment with frequencies.
Well, I mean, that's pretty much what they did, like back in, like the ancient times.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
wow.
It's amazing. I was like, oh, what do I got to lose? I tried it.
Yeah.
Like I'm sleeping better. Like
That's all that counts. If something is working.
And I'm sure they don't have McDonald's burgers on that and French fries.
No, it's real food. It's real food. But yeah,
Exactly.
I took digestive enzymes for like 20 years, and after 2 weeks of doing that diet, I never took one again.
Wow.
If you're just about eating the right food at the right time.
I absolutely love that.
Yeah,
I will have to get your book.
Yes.
I'm so
yeah,
excited.
you can get an Audible, so you can listen to. It's like,
That's what we'll do.
yeah, it's like 50% recipes.
Well, I don't know. I might need to take notes.
Well,
so.
you can get a Kindle. There
Okay.
it has because it's 50% recipes. I have like meal plans and stuff because
I love that.
people don't know how to cook. I'm Irish Italian, so I grew up cooking. And so I even teach my friends. You know, my friends are trying to be wives right now, and like once a week we get together and we cook something from my book.
I love that.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So excited. I will have all this in our show notes. Thank you so much
That's
for coming
amazing.
on.
Thank you. This
It's
was
been a blessing.
great podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope we impact a lot of people.
Us too.
I hope
Yeah.
so too.
Yeah, great, cool.
Oh my goodness, that was amazing.
That was
Yeah.